On this week's episode of Tiger Turf Talk, we host the Director of Athletic Grounds and Turf Management at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, Mr. Casey Carrick. What an honor it was to have Casey on. He is truly an incredible person who has had a phenomenal career and has become a true industry leader in the sports turf industry. It was awesome to be able to reconnect with him after receiving the award of Sports Turf Manager's Field of the Year for football back in 2018. Him at the collegiate level, our students at the Parks and Rec level. It truly was awesome to talk about all the different stories behind what it takes to create a crew where you have such a huge family when it comes to his crew at Chapel Hill, extending further and beyond just the crew, but the student athletes, the administration, and all that. And it was awesome just to discuss everything college athletics, including the new and upcoming thing that a lot of people aren't aware of with the NITs and the money that students can make, whether that's commercials on campus, on their facilities, or anything along those lines. It's a whole new aspect of the job that we discussed. And another big thing that we talked about was this project back when they did win National Field of the Year, when he converted his stadium field into a practice field back into a stadium field about 7 times over a 2-year span, which is one of the largest projects I believe our industry has seen, and it truly is incredible to see and hear about all the different aspects that go into that, the dedication, the time, the energy of the crew, and again, just being there every single time. It's hard work and it takes time, and Casey was that leader that was able to guide his crew members and his family down the path of success, and it truly was an inspiration to a lot of people in our industry, and again, we can't thank Casey enough. We discuss other aspects and how his old paint schemes and whatnot were an inspiration to my kids, and truly was an inspiration for when our students won the Stars and Stripe competition back in 2019. It was very similar to his design, if not almost the same thing, and we truly take from sports turf managers all across the country, but Casey and his crew have had such incredible work that our students are always fascinated with, and truly an inspiration. So we can't thank him enough for everything that he does, and we are so glad we got him on, and we hope that he has a fantastic rest of his fall. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Tiger Turf Talk. Good afternoon and welcome to the 53rd episode of Tiger Turf Talk. I'm your host, Drew Miller. Today we have on an incredible guest. We have the Director of Athletic Grounds and Turf Management, Mr. Casey Carrick. I messed it up. If you couldn't tell, I told you I would. How you doing today, sir?
I'm good, Drew. I appreciate you having me on.
Of course.
That sounded great.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Like I said before, I've been wanting to get you on for a long time. We actually met because we actually shared the honor of receiving National Field of the Year for football. I think it was 2018. I could be wrong. But at the same time, and I remember one of the big things that I remember most about meeting with you was your crew and the guys that were with you. You guys seem like such a great tight-knit group, a real big family. And I just wanted to ask you sort of how you built that in Chapel Hill over the time you've been there with the guys that were there and hopefully are still there, or if they've gone to be more successful. What is it that you've been doing to sort of build that family there in Chapel Hill?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't know that I can take the credit for that. We've been fortunate to hire some really good people over the last couple of years, and not just the last couple of years, but the last 10 years since I've been there. We've been fortunate to get guys that want to work with us and stay working with us. And every once in a while you'll have a person move on to a different job or a career move that's step up or even something else. But for the most part, we've had the same core group of guys for 10 years or more now. And for the most part, we're around the same age. We enjoy the same things. So, not just being at work together, but we like to do stuff together outside of work, and I think that makes us a pretty close knit group.
That's awesome. That's a lot of college athletic grounds crews are like that. I've seen throughout the country, and in my experience down at Virginia Tech, a lot of people do that, and I think that's awesome. With that, who's making up your crew? Who's doing what? How has it been sort of developing a plan? I know right now Virginia Tech's going through a shift with hiring a new person for a different position and whatnot, but who makes up your crew, and how have you sort of delegated the different duties based on either sports or venues or whatever that works for you at UNC?
Yeah, so we've got, on the staff that I oversee, we've got 11 guys that maintain the 30 plus acres of athletic field that we maintain, and some of the common areas around the facilities. My assistant AJ Congelli's been at Carolina with me now for almost 9 years. So he's I would put him up against anybody in the country is just as good as he is at what he knows, and how he manages our crew when I'm not around, or just anything I need from him. So he's kind of my right hand man and helps me with everything. And then we've got other guys that are set up to where they oversee a facility. We've got one guy that oversees our baseball facility, and a couple guys work with him. We've got a guy that oversees our lacrosse soccer field. We've got a guy that oversees softball, and then our practice facility, off campus a little bit. And then we've got some guys that float around and help out where needed. But the crew, everybody, there's a lot of respect for everybody on the crew, between the crew. They don't mind helping out. Some days we might have 4 or 5 guys at softball doing a project, and the next day or that afternoon, they might be at our football practice facility doing a project. So they work together. It's one really big crew, and it's cool. It's really cool.
Definitely. And it sounds awesome. Again, helping out each other is huge, especially when you have such a large scale complex. I think a lot of people lose sight of the fact that Division I complexes are nothing to laugh about. You said 30 acres. That's insane, and that's not including all the facilities around it and the stadiums that are included in that. So I think that's definitely really cool. With all of that, what is it that you're focusing on when it comes to your management style? Again, you have so many different facilities with 11 guys, and you're talking about, again, you're helping out with other groups and whatnot. What are you focusing on to ensure that you're getting the job done? Whether that's budgetary, whether that's division of labor, whether that's sort of where things are needed at a certain time. Obviously, you went through that huge project, which we're going to get into later on, because I think it's still the coolest thing to happen in SportsTurf in decades. So what is it that you're focusing on, and how do you make those decisions sort of on the fly based off of what your annual plan usually is for any given year?
It varies from sport to sport. We try to sit down and look at the schedule. I'll use baseball, for example. We look at the schedule for the fall, and we try to plan out what we might do. We try to plan that out as a group so that we all know what's going on. And then, I'm trying to, it's hard to maintain that many acres and facilities and not be able to trust the guys doing it. So, that's the one thing that I think I still I'm trying to work on, is let those guys do their thing. Let's make a plan and then let them execute it. And I know that the people we have on our staff, I can do that and walk away, and I know that it's going to get done. We do plan a lot. We sit down and we plan. We're going to try to overseed on this break, or for our soccer field, we've got a break for these games. But then it doesn't always play out like that. The weather may dictate something, or we may have a makeup game, or this or that, or so we've always got to be pretty flexible. We do a really good job of planning our weeks out, but there's something, I don't think there's ever a week that goes by where everything goes as planned. So it's like that with every SportsTurf manager and every venue across the country. But when you're dealing with 9 different venues and the amount of acres that we have, you've got to be really flexible in your plans, even when they don't go your way.
Definitely. And especially in college athletics, I mean, I can't say enough. Having all of those different venues and all those different events going on top of, like, again, when people talk about like Major League Baseball, these concerts and whatnot. Events are a daily thing in college athletics. It's all about bringing in that next recruit, bringing in the next money or dollar bill, whatever it is. And you guys are always the one. I remember ours was always the press conferences at Tech. They would put a press conference up in the locker room. They want a press conference on the field. Like, wait, we have a media center for this. Nope, we're not going to use that. What do you think?
Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say one of the big things that we preach that comes down from the top, is being recruiting ready at all times, because with college athletics, a recruit can come on campus anytime for the most part on an unofficial visit. And you want that when a recruit shows up with their parents, whether it's an official visit or unofficial visit, you want your facilities to look nice. You want them to be clean. You want the fields to look good. You want to show off. And, that can be 365 days a year. So that's a challenge for us, is to keep everything, I'm going to try to say perfect year round. There's really no off season anymore.
And that's what it's, and now I'm sure even more with the players being able to make money, you guys are probably going to get inundated with stuff where like, hey, they need to use the field for this and it needs to be painted perfectly and whatnot. And it's like, whoa, okay, calm down. It's December 1st and there's no growing degree days here. We can't really grow grass right now. It's kind of cold,
Yeah, we just had our first example of that, where our indoor facility was booked from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. This week for a video shoot, and it kind of, not that we had to do a lot in there that day, but it took it offline for us. So I think, as the NIL and the things grow, I think we're going to see more of that. And again, we'll be the ones to figure out how to work around it.
Do you see it having any other big impact on what you're doing? With the baseball, say a baseball video or a baseball event, or someone's hosting some big company because now they're signing with them. Do you see it impacting anything else, like when it comes to what your job is as a whole?
I think we're trying to figure it out as we go, honestly. We haven't had the request for, something on a field yet where it's put us in a situation that causes an issue for either the student athlete doing the video or photo shoot or puts us in a bind, getting it ready. But I think, that might come. We do have a process. Our administration's done a really good job of making a process that a student athlete would have to go through to book a field. And we do have a say in if it's available or, if we're doing something to it. So like I said, we haven't gotten that far yet, but we will. We'll figure it out as we go.
Absolutely. And best of luck with that, because I can't even imagine what's going to happen when kids are driving in Lambos around campus and whatnot. Like, oh, this is normal now, We know what we need. We need groundskeepers to be able to have the same opportunity, people. Okay. What's that commercial? It was a State Farm where the guy drives the chalker around the field. Hey, get a real groundskeeper for that one, Come on.
Yeah, we need to make some money off this, right?
Exactly. Yep. You sort of talked about it a little bit already. And when I was at Tech, I was lucky enough to meet and work with some of the higher ups when it comes to, again, sort of the chain of command, whether it's the actual head athletic director versus the ones below with their certain sports, and just meeting their standards based on the events that are going on, expectations when it comes to like making sure you play a game, even though literally there's a hurricane going on. And I have a question about that later on. Stuff like that. What has it been like for you at UNC working with those people? And how has that relationship sort of built over time since you started there at Chapel Hill?
Yeah. So I've been at UNC now for, this is my 12th year. So they're starting to add up. And I think I've gained the trust and respect of our administration all the way up to our athletic director. So I have no problem having conversations with him about the fields. There's a good family culture within our athletic department that I don't feel like anybody's off limits to talk to. I don't do it, but I feel like I could call him up this afternoon, and if I had a question about something, so and he would be responsive and talk with me about it. But I think we as a group have gained the trust of our administration, and they see the work, or they see the results we're putting on the field. They see us putting in the work to make our fields what they are for our student athletes. So when we go to them with a request, or with an issue, it doesn't fall on deaf ears. They listen to us. So, if I need a piece of equipment and I can explain why, they do a really good job of getting us the things we need and the resources. So, but I think that just goes back to a lot of communication and trust that's built up over the last 10 or 12 years. So.
Absolutely. And it's definitely how things work well at a university level. If there's no communication, then there's going to be that lack of understanding and expectation. So it's definitely important. And that's awesome that you have it there. I want to sort of shift towards you. Something that has been really big as of late when it comes to the sports turf industry and as a whole is understanding how to sort of gain interest from people who are not visible in the industry, or understand that we are even an industry. What was it that brought you to sports turf, and what was sort of your story that created that, again, path towards working at UNC and having a job for this long in such a great industry?
So, like a lot of turf, I was a turf student at NC State. My sophomore year, I changed my major to turf after working at a golf course for a summer. And I feel like a lot of people in our turf industry got their start in golf. There's just so many golf courses and jobs open out there that So I got my start in golf. I did it for 2 years, and I really loved it. I love being outside, love mowing, love doing things like that. But I'm not much of a golfer. So I felt like I would get the course ready and I'd go home, and that was fine. But the summer of 2005, I decided to stay in Raleigh that summer, and I needed a new job. And I went over to Carter Finley Stadium at NC State, and I had this I think I had like a resume, didn't have much on it, but I had this big spiel that I was going to give whoever I could run into to convince them to give me a summer job. And I'll never forget, I ran into Ray Brentsfield, who's assistant athletic director at NC State. He's still there. And I got ready to give the spiel, and he said, "If you want a summer job, come back tomorrow. You're hired." That was it. And I was like, man, I thought about this for a while, and that was it. And come to find out, Ray was, I think he had a kidney stone, and he just didn't feel like talking. And that was my start, Yeah. So it was, but Ray got me into the sports turf world, and Ray and I are really close friends to this day. So that got me into sports turf. And then I realized this is my passion. This is where I want to be. I played baseball and soccer in high school. So getting to work on a baseball field or a soccer field, I knew a lot more about that than I did on the golf side of it when I was working there. So it didn't take me long to realize this is where I want to be. And I just love college athletics in general. I think there's times in my career where I really wanted to, go to Major League Baseball or go work in the NFL or anything like that. But, I've been in college athletics for 17 years now, or 16 years now, but, and that's where I see myself. I had the opportunity in 2010 to move over to UNC. It was a step up for me, more decision making, more responsibility. And looking back, it was a really good move. Kevin Robinson, who hired me, I can't give him enough credit for he really just threw me out there and let me do my thing. Sometimes I wonder how those first couple of years, how we kept the fields alive, because looking back, I don't think I knew what I was doing at all, but we figured it out somehow. So,
I still feel like that.
Yeah. But, I look back at pictures that I took from 2010 or 11 that I thought at the time was, man, the field looked great. Now I look at it, I'm like, what were we doing? So, but I know everybody's got a different story. That's kind of my story. I lucked into a couple things, just by being at the right place at the right time. But I think I've also, I hope that I've worked hard enough to prove myself and stayed in this position for a while now.
That's a great story. I love that. The kidney stone. I had a kidney stone once. Nope. Worst pain ever. I actually was in the hospital, screaming in the waiting room. They literally moved me along ahead of everybody because I was screaming. I couldn't stop screaming. And then the
Yeah, they're
nurse couldn't poke my arm, took the meds across the hospital, and a new nurse came in. He was a Marine, and he poked me right once. He's like, "Where are the meds?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's your job, okay?" I was
yeah.
like,
I mean,
"I don't have them sitting right here. I would have already taken them. I would have probably just drank them instead of putting it in an IV, waiting for you."
yeah. Knock on wood, I haven't experienced that, and I hope I don't get to. So
I hope you never do too either. So, with that, and again, with sort of everything, like the story is amazing and the people you meet. What has it been for you? And you said you wanted to stay in college athletics. You had those aspirations, and that sort of were like, okay, well, I belong here. What is it that keeps you going each day? There are days where you're just like you're really struggling, and man, this is just tough. I'm actually going through that now. One of my kids has cancer, and it's tough seeing it and wanting to help him, and you really can't do anything. And again, what is it that keeps you going each and every day, moving forward in again your position at UNC?
oh man, that's they're like any sports surf manager. There are days where I drive home from work and it's a tough day, and there's been days where you question, like, man, is this for me? But then you might drive home the next day and it's a complete 180. One of the things for me is I've the relationships we have with all of the coaches that we deal with, head coaches, assistant coaches, the people in the athletic department, not only the staff that I work with, but everybody. That's what keeps me going. Just knowing that, hey, we're doing something good and we're putting a good product on the field for our student athletes. And people, we don't always need the recognition, but it's nice when our marketing comes up for a game and like, oh, the field looks amazing. That's a nice gesture that makes you feel good about what you're doing. It's easy to get frustrated with the way schedules are, and when you're fighting the weather like we do, it's easy to get frustrated and just want to throw in the towel. But I think you got to find those times to get away, to recharge, and just start fresh with your attitude. But yeah, knowing what we're doing and putting out there for people, it just that keeps me going. And it's fun. We enjoy it.
Friggin' Mother Nature, always. Couldn't you be on our side like 50% of the time? Even just 50.
Yeah.
Do you have a fondest memory from your years at UNC that you sort of are like, well, I know there are a lot of good times and everything, but there's always that one that sort of sticks out in a career. You're just like, wow, I did that. That was awesome.
Yeah,
that moment was great.
We did the field conversion. And when that was all said and done, that was in my mind, that was a really good memory. There are times when we were doing it that it didn't seem like a good memory, but at the end,
Mother Nature, I saw in your presentation.
Yeah, so that was fun. We won Field of the Year, which was really cool. One of the coolest things though that I think meant the most to myself and even our crew is we have a thing called the Rammies every year. It's a spinoff, I think, of the SBs, and it's the student athletes. We dress up. We were in suit and tie. There was a unsung hero award, and the student athletes voted on it, and they gave that to us, the grounds crew. And that meant a lot to me because that was, unprompted. That was completely them saying, hey, we should nominate the grounds crew. And not only did they nominate us, but they all voted on it and we won. That meant a lot to me because that's who we're here to serve and to work for. And that's what we do. So that one was really cool. We've got it up in our baseball office right now. It's a little gold ram. So it's pretty neat.
That's awesome. Do you get to work with student athletes a lot? Just sort of like expectation wise when it comes to, I remember we had Brandon Harden on and he was talking about, I was like, sorry, coaches, I really don't care what you're saying. I'm worried about them and their play. Do you get to work with them enough when it comes to, again, their not preferences or anything, but their feedback and making adjustments based off of that?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a cool part of what we do. The guys that are stay at our baseball field the most, talk to the baseball players. Our softball crew talks to our softball players. I think each the people that kind of run the field and facility know their teams really well. But we get to be on the field with the athletes. We'll get their feedback. We'll go ask a infielder sometime, is the dirt too soft, too hard? How do you like it? And a lot of times they don't have a preference. A lot of times we'll get some feedback. But our coaching staffs for all of our teams have done a really good job of making the play. I don't say making them, but getting the players to realize what goes into making a field look and play good. So they respect it, and that's really cool. They understand what we're doing. When we ask them to move out of a spot, they have no problem with that most of the time. So that's really cool. So, there are obviously players I think you become better friends with. It may be something small. Hey, they're from your hometown, or, things like that, something that you have in common. But, it's really cool to follow them through college and then see when, they go on in life. A lot of them go play pro sports and we still keep up with them, or a lot of them just, go start a family. And that's cool to see when they come back. So, just really neat to interact with them like that.
It's great to have those connections, I'm sure. And it's awesome to hear that your coach is on your side with things, because a lot of college coaches are like, we're doing it this way and we're not changing it. Sorry. It's
we deal with that too, but it's it's give and a take. You gotta figure out each coach is different, So.
Yeah, absolutely. You wish they would understand that, hey, your student athletes' safety and health is dependent on what we're doing, and maybe what we're trying to do is help you instead of like annoy you or anything. Like, hey, just saying, listen to us. It's gonna be okay. We're asking for your opinion. We're not telling you to say what we're doing, but no, it's always. It's even in golf and everything. Like, you have those people, you're just like, why are you being this way? Like, we're trying to work with you here, But all right, so I want to get into it. I actually was at a presentation at STMA the same year that we won the award, and it is again one of the most insane projects that I have ever seen, heard, was able to again talk to you and chat about. Could you sort of give us a rundown on what it all was about? And again, it was awesome to see that the coach was so invested in that natural grass playing surface for you guys. But sort of start at the top, why the situation came about with the facilities being built and all that. And again, I'm going to shut up because I keep talking. But if you can go through it and explain the whole thing, that'd be awesome.
So that 2 or 3 year project probably took about 10 years off my life, but it was worth it.
God bless you. I will say that before you start.
So we were in need of an indoor practice facility for football, and now that we have it, all the other teams are using it as well. But we're pretty landlocked. The only way we could build a new football practice complex was to bulldoze everything we had. If we bulldozed our practice field, we tried to figure out where we were going to put football for practices during the week. We looked into busting them off campus to some other fields and just all kinds of things, and nothing made sense. But to put them in our football stadium. Coach Fedora and that staff at the time were, big advocates of natural grass, and we came up with a proposal. Here's what we can do, Coach. We can let you practice in the stadium all week and come in on Thursday and rip out the grass and resod it and have it ready for Saturday. And he went with that idea. Financially, it was a good idea. It was going to save money first, just completely ripping the whole field out and going synthetic at the time. He liked natural, so he was on board with it. So then I called Chad and I'm like, how do we do this? I actually called a lot of people and I was like, talk me out of this. Are we crazy? Some people said, yeah, you're probably crazy, but I think you can do it. I got a lot of advice from people all over the country, which was really cool. A lot of the guys locally in the area came and helped us with it, but yeah, we did that. We budgeted to resod the whole field before every home game. So 7 full resods. I think the first year we did 3.5 resods, so well under what we budgeted for, which was good. The field played great. I think we might talk about it a little bit, but that project, our practice facility project, ran into some major problems with underground steam lines and sewer lines and things, rock and just unexpected things that nobody could really foresee. So because of that, we had to do it for 2 years. That 1 year of practicing in the stadium turned into 2 full seasons of practicing in the stadium. By the second year, we pretty much had it down, the process of coming in overnight and taking a field out and putting a new one in. But we didn't plan for 2 years. So that took a toll on the crew for a little while, I think. There was a light at the end of the tunnel, and then all of a sudden it was like, here we go again, let's do it again. But, with all that said, I wouldn't change a thing. I mean, I wouldn't change the decision to offer that up and to do it. We learned so much. There's a ton of things I think we would have changed doing the project or doing the resods, or we learned a lot of really cool stuff. But I'm really glad we did it. And I've had a couple SportsTurf managers throughout the country call me. Hey, we're gonna have a concert on our field a week before a home game. How do we do it? Or they've used us an example. Hey, UNC did it. They did it, and they did it in 2 days, and we've got a full week to do it, so no problem. I think there's some situations out there right now where people may be building a practice facility and doing the same thing. So hopefully we showed, the turf industry that something that could be done if it needs to be.
You are the guys,
Sure. I just rambled on for a long time right there. So
that's what we wanted. Exactly. No. And what are some of those things that again, it's something that was just not done before. There wasn't anybody who had a field replaced. It was 4 times, right? You said in the first year?
Yeah. 3.5 to 4 the first year.
So with that, was there anything that you found that was difficult when it came to managing the field? Again, I know it's a brand new field and that's great and whatnot, but again, if you were repetitively doing this and having issues with anything, what were some of those issues and how did you deal with them? Or was it just sort of smooth when it came to the management side once it was in?
No, so a lot of it was just learning on the fly because we had never done this either. We had installed the game on grass from Chad at other facilities, but we've never had to turn it around in 24 hours. We've never had to do what we were doing there. It went really well. When you're replacing a whole field, you're cutting it out and we're coming behind. We're cutting it out, getting 3 passes down, and all of a sudden we've got another crew lay inside. So we really didn't have a lot of time to prep, under the sod. So 3 or 4 resods in, I felt like the field got a little uneven. I don't think you would ever see it on TV, or I don't even think the players realized it, but we could see it. All right, that's not as smooth as it was before we did this. Not having the ability the time to grade it, and get it right. We rolled it a lot because it was new sod, and I think we compacted a layer, an inch or 2 under that sod. So we found we would get a rain and we didn't drain as good as we thought. It was kind of staying at the top. So then we started aerifying. We would literally cut the sod up, lay a new roll, take our walk behind air fryer and needle tine it, and then roll it to get it smooth. So at least we thought we were breaking up a harder layer. And that seemed to work, So things like that we just figured out on the fly. Yet we had to be really careful because, once you lay that sod and you roll it, once you paint it, we couldn't put the roller back on it because it would move it a little bit, So you had to have it perfect, or you had to have it where you wanted it before you did any painting. So that was a challenge sometimes.
And that's a challenge for you guys in the sense, like, that's literally 12 hours of install, evening, leveling, and then painting. Like, it's still crazy to me. I mean, I've been through a couple of things like that, and we were lucky enough with our students, we were able to convert the DC United soccer field to a defender field before the pandemic. So, like, our kids got to experience it, and it's just, I can't even imagine doing it with an install in front of it. It's just absolutely insane. Can you sort of discuss with that, again, you were talking about how the practice facility took a lot longer, and I had it in the notes here, how your crew sort of adapted. You said it was hard, and again, the light at the tunnel and then you just open up and there's another tunnel. What were you able to do to sort of help with sort of that adaptation of, okay, this is normal for another year, guys. We got to get through this and keep just pushing through.
You know, I think as the crew, we just understood we didn't have a choice. You know, we got into this and we were going to ride it out. You know, and I'm very proud of our crew for that year. So we had a couple guys that were new. And I think to this day, they're still with us and they're like, what did I get myself into? You know, like, you know, this is insane. And it was. But the crew, man, the credit to all of the guys that work, you know, on the crew we had, because they at any point could have just given up and nobody did. You know, for what it's worth, the first resod we ever did, we were going to do on a Thursday, but we had rain coming. So on Wednesday morning, I drove to work at 6 a.m. and I called Chad Price and I said, can we come tonight to do it? And Chad dropped everything, brought his crew. You know, I got to work that day and I told the 9 or 10 guys we had, hey, I know you thought you were spending the night tomorrow night, but we need it to be tonight. And they all did. You know, I mean, a lot of the guys had kids and had to make arrangements and did all that, but I didn't get any pushback. So everybody was on board. So that's really the only way that this was able to happen. Everybody bought in.
That's a result of leadership. So congratulations to you too. You know, that's awesome. What was your relationship with Chad? I mean, Chad's one of the nicest guys you ever meet, and he actually just hired one of my former bosses, Chris Ecton. I don't know if you've been able to meet him yet, but what was it kind of like working with those guys? You know, I know in the NFL when Chris was there, they had a really good relationship with Tuckahoe because they'd come in because they had Pittsburgh and the Steelers, and there would be enough resodding. How is that relationship sort of building, and how have you been able to sort of stay in contact with those guys when it comes to, again, going through something that has never been done before and has such a big impact on your guys' careers?
Yeah. So, you know, we've got a really good relationship with Chad and Carolina Green, and they built a lot of fields for us, some practice fields recently. They built our baseball stadium. And then we've also got a really good relationship with Precision Turf. They built some fields for us during this project too. But with Chad in that situation, in that project, you know, I was really good friends with Chad before we did this, but there was a point where Chad and I talked almost every day for that entire season. I think a lot of days, multiple times, just coordinating stuff and going to the farm to see the sod and, you know, just things like that. So relationship wise, my and Chad relationship grew a ton over that last 2 years. And if anybody in our industry knows Chad, he's an awesome guy. So I'm very thankful for that. But yeah, it not just Chad, but Chad's entire crew, and our crew. They, you know, it was cool to see them interacting and joking. And I think one of Chad's guys got married and invited some of our guys to his wedding. So that's how it ended up. You know, we were in it together. Those wee hours of the morning when everybody wanted to go to bed, or, you know, you're cold, and we're all in it together. So we're sucking it up, and one big family, basically. So
sounds like you guys need to make an annual reunion, you know?
I think I joked with Chad. I was like, when you have your company Christmas party, you know, just send us an invite. We'll be there. But
if Chad hears this, I bet you he'll send you one this year.
Yeah.
And I know I don't want to ask this question unless you want. You said it was okay, so if not, you know, I told you this. I think it was at STMA. I might have messaged you too. I couldn't believe it after everything you guys have been through, and of course the coach has the say because he's the coach or whatever. What was it like to have, again, the national field of the year sort of transitioned into this synthetic crap turf? Sorry, my bad. No, I'm sorry.
Listen, that's a fair question. It's one that I've talked about a lot over the last couple of years. You know, I'd be lying if I said I'm not a grass guy. I enjoy maintaining. Kenan Stadium was kind of that was our baby. We love maintaining it. You know, with that being said, there's a lot more that goes into the decisions to change out the field than I think. You know, A, were made public, and B, you know, people understand. You know, I think I did my part and tried to explain, here's what this field could be like on a normal year. Here's what it would. For our situation, I think there was a need to have another field that could be used a lot more than, the grass field would have been used. I think the overall picture in the athletic department was we can use this more, things like that. And they have been. People have been using it. It's not like we put a piece of synthetic in and nobody's allowed on it. So it's getting a lot of use, which I'm happy to see if we're going to do that. But, I'd be lying if I said it obviously didn't hurt a little bit. But I think at the end of the day, and our whole crew, myself, understand that, we don't have to agree with every decision that's made in the athletic department, but it is our job to maintain, the fields, no matter what surface they are, the reason they were put in or anything like that. So the guys still take pride in, maintaining it and doing what we have to do and in making it a showpiece. So
absolutely.
People have our guys have handled it very, very well. So
good for them. I'm still not handling it very well. I mean, some of the stuff they put out, like, I understand you're trying to use more and whatnot. Guess what? Go put it on some other block in the middle of the campus that they can walk to. Okay. This is the mecca of what your facility is supposed to be. And you're just going to throw plastic on it, I'm okay. I'm going to stop now before I get in trouble.
You're good.
With that, could you sort of discuss your facilities? You got a brand new, and it's not really brand new. It's been a couple of years, I'm sure. Soccer and lacrosse facility, which is gorgeous. And could you also sort of talk? I want to sort of transition into the turf aspect of things. What's making up those fields? Obviously, we just talked Keenan synthetic now. What type of Bermuda are you working with those facilities, and sort of what they are as a whole?
So I consider myself very fortunate. We've, since I've been at UNC, when I got there in the first year, the baseball stadium was in its second year. So it was a state of the art stadium, sand-based field. We've built 2 natural grass fields for soccer, lacrosse to practice on. We built 2 artificial fields for soccer, lacrosse, and intramurals to be on. We've renovated our soccer stadium, completely brand new sand-based field. Our football practice complex in that same project, indoor facility, an outdoor synthetic, and an outdoor natural grass field, and then a brand new field hockey stadium. So I feel really fortunate to have some state-of-the-art facilities, not just the fields, but the entire facility. With that being said, my boss, who is retired now, but at the time, let me have a very, very hands-on say in how we build these fields. And that was really cool. We got to decide that we want to build them like, we want the 4 inches of gravel, the 10 inches of sand. Here's the blend of the sand that we want. We won't put couplers here. This is the irrigation we want. We had the say in all of that. And that was really, really cool. So there's always things you look back on and you're like, man, I wish I would have done it this way. But overall, really, really good grass fields to maintain, which make our life a lot easier.
That's awesome, because couplers are huge in the right spot. My brother,
you don't realize it till you don't have it.
No, exactly. You're like, I gotta go load up a spray rig and I got all this stuff. My brother just put in his high school's brand new, and I helped them with their design. They didn't have a coupler right behind the mound. I was like, you gonna water your infield? So stuff like that, where again, like, easily can be fixed. That's definitely huge. What type of turf are you running with? Latitude? Anything new? I think it was Latitude when you guys were renovating the fields, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Are you looking towards the future or anything? Are you happy with it? Because I know we just hosted I don't know if you know the YouTube channel, the Lawn Tools. They were up here in Northern Virginia. At Brentsville, we try to diversify what we have. So we've got a Tahoma field now. We've got a Northbridge. We've got a Latitude. And then we have Patriot, which, again, we don't have a say on things. That was there when I got here, but used to be, again, the new big thing. And everyone's always looking for that next new big thing, Yeah. How's it going for you, and what do you have in your future plans for that?
Drew, you still there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, do you have any plans for moving forward?
I don't think so. When we built the fields originally, like when I got to UNC, everything was 419, which was great. Our outfield of our baseball field is still 419. It's probably the last thing we've converted. All the new construction we went to latitude. And we've converted our softball field over in the last 4 years to latitude. We were fortunate. The guys down the road at Duke had latitude on their football stadium and their soccer stadium, so we went over and checked it out. And it was a great grass. I mean, I think it's one thing seeing it on a test plot, at a research farm, and then seeing it in real SportsTurf application. And we saw what they had, and we thought, that's a really beautiful Bermuda. You're only 8 miles away. Climates are the same. So we started doing that. And I think we're still figuring it out. It's different than 419. You manage it different. So I know there's some newer varieties coming out, and I'm sure they're great. But I think, talking with AJ and our guys, we feel like we're getting in that sweet spot to where we know how to maintain the latitude. So I think we're probably going to sit with that for a while.
Absolutely. And that's what's been crazy to see is just we have practices on all of our fields and being able to see the traffic and how it handles versus each other and management practices on what's working with this. Because again, like you said, it's completely different place between latitude and 419. Especially in your climate, where we're at, we're in that really, really a tipping point in the transition zone. You have a little bit less of that. With everything though, with that, again, you're saying you're just getting to where you think everything that needs to be done for latitude. What is it that you're focusing on, culturally speaking, when it comes to one of your highest traffic field, maybe the practice facility?
So we're big on aerification, and we use a lot of different tines. We'll pull a core. We'll use a needle tine a lot. We keep that on the air fryer because we can run that out. You may show up one morning and realize this area is just getting compacted, and we'll run the air fryer over it. And within an hour, and you've relieved it a little bit. With the latitude fields, I think AJ and I have talked about really dethatching them more. That's one thing you do have to do with some of these newer variety Bermudas, is to dethatch them more. So we're trying. We've got a couple of different verticutters or brooms, and we're trying to sneak those in when we can and do more of that stuff. And then we've got the ability now. We didn't always have the equipment to do this, but we do now. So to top dress, we might, in years past, we may just do a couple big heavy top dressings, but now we're going out. I think last week football practice ended and they had 3 days off or 2 days off. So we went out there with 10, 12 tons of sand and put a light coat on it. We're doing stuff like that more frequently as opposed to how we used to do it. So, I think things like that are being able to do it in smaller increments more often are really beneficial to what we're doing.
Now with that, with the season and sort of an ideal time frame, what is it? Have you noticed, maybe again, even back to when you were managing Keen Natural during the season, what have you been able to sort of focus on to, again, help better the play of the field for the athletes, again, in that sort of time frame? Again, you can't be as aggressive because obviously you need to be ready within like a week or 5 days or 2 days, whatever it is. What is it that you're able to sort of focus on when it comes to that?
As far as just maintaining the fields during high traffic times?
Absolutely. Sorry.
Yeah, no. That's again, back to, I think we aerify when we can to just relieve compaction. We try to keep a granular fertilizer out that's a slow release so that we're feeding, constantly. And then we do a lot of foliar applications as needed. We keep a good amount of foliar, and that's where we can, tailor a spray to what that field needs at that time. And a lot of that's, we might plan to, hey, we know we're going to spray next week, but we don't necessarily know what we're going to put in the tank yet. We need to see how the field's reacting. With the weather here, like it is with you, we might be 92 one day, and 3 days later, we might top out at 75, so it's a weird, you don't know what you're going to get a lot of times. So.
Bring the 75 to Northern Virginia, please. Oh my God.
Listen, I've always said I love the summer. I love it. And I like the warm weather because our Bermuda grass is going. And my wife finally told me one time, she goes, listen, we need it to be fall. Nobody cares about your grass growing longer. Just stop wishing it's hot. I was like, all right.
It's Bermuda or it's me, okay?
Yeah.
No, it's one of those summers. It's been crazy. I mean, I think our average has been 98 for the last 2 months. It's been insane. I think there's been one weekend.
Yeah, my measuring stick is I have a tall fescue at my house. So if my tall fescue is looking really good in the summer, I know it's not been warm enough for our Bermuda to be going good. But when my fescue starts to, die down and look pretty crappy, I'm like, all right, here we go. Bermuda's rolling at work. So
same here. Yup, it's the same barometer. Oh gosh, it's been a crazy, crazy summer. That's for sure. Do you guys have any major projects coming up? You're a top 10 football program. With that comes money. And I know that sounds bad, but again, just sort of my experience when I was at Tech, with that comes money, with more people wanting more. So college athletics is again sort of about that next big thing that you're going to do. Like at Virginia Tech, they just announced they're doing like a $40 million renovation of their basketball facility. They're making it a glass box. I'm like, great idea. College students are not going to throw stuff at that. Um, so do you know of any big projects coming up for you that you're going to be involved with? That you can disclose. Sorry.
Yeah, no. Because we've just renovated, in the last 4 years, like I said, we've got a new field hockey stadium, new football practice facility, new lacrosse soccer stadium, and then new practice fields and track for them. So, I think field wise, we're probably tapped out for the moment. We are doing I think a major renovation to our football center. That doesn't really affect our fields or what I do, but going back to what you said, I mean, your football is gaining some momentum, and now they're going to spend some money on the football center. I think with college athletics, we're always going to be renovating something, updating something. Our softball field's 20 years old. That's the next thing I really hope we get to focus on and kind of, I would say, bulldoze and start fresh. But that's probably a couple years away. So no, not in the meantime. I think, dude, those years of construction were really fun because it was different and I got to be a part of it. But after 3 years of construction, you're like, man, I just want to maintain. I just want to get back to a normal. So
give me my one field, okay? We want to
listen. We were at a point where the fields were done and we couldn't have access, so that we would have to pull our sprayer or our tractor up, and the crane would have to pick it up and put it over the building onto the field. And then we would have to spray and then have to get the crane to lift it back over. So
that's insane. That's crazy.
So stuff that seemed pretty fun, but it was like, man, this is a hassle.
Like first time. Wow, that's impressive. 10th time. Just put it down. Come on, we gotta go. Yeah, for sure. That's awesome though. I forgot to bring this up when we were talking about the cultural practices. Do you remember? I think it was like the year before you started all the construction. It was like my freshman year of college. There was a national televised. It was, I think you were playing NC State. I could be wrong, but you guys were on ESPN with your drainage, and it was a big hurricane coming in, like right on top of your game. And we were playing ECU, and they canceled the game, and it was this big thing and whatnot. You're like, we're not canceling, we're fine. And you had, I think it was like 4 water bottles or 5 water bottles, and they filmed you pouring them in with the infiltration. What was that kind of like, and how are you able to, again, sort of be that sort of like light on SportsTurf managers, and again, be like, this is what we can do with natural grass, and we're going to be fine with the hurricane no matter what amount of rain is coming in, because it's never rained 16 inches an hour, stuff like that. Yeah. What was that like? And again, sort of being that sort of spotlight on SportsTurf,
So when we had just renovated Kenan Stadium the year before, so it was a brand new. We took it all the way down. There was actually a 72-inch campus storm drain that ran right under the middle of the field, about 30 feet deep, that needed replacing. So lucky for us, we got a new field out of it. And we built it sand base, and we bragged about it. Oh, this field will take 15, 16, 20 inches an hour. As we're building it, we're bragging about it. Well, all of a sudden we get a game with a hurricane, and then we bragged about this for months, how good it drains. And I got a little nervous, I really hope it holds up to what I'm telling people. So I think the day before the game, before the rain, we went out there with a soil probe, and we just put a hole in the ground, and we had some water bottles, like you said, and we just started pouring. And though the water never came out of the hole. It just kept draining and draining. And we were videoing it. And I remember thinking then, all right, we're going to be okay. There's not going to be these holes all over the field, but we're going to be okay. Before the game that day, I walked out on the field, and I went to the most compacted spot, like every football field, probably around the 35-yard line where the walkthroughs happen, things like that. And Coach Gene Chiswick was our defensive coordinator at the time, and he walked out and he said, "How's it going to hold up?" And I said, "Well, we're standing in the most compacted spot, and I couldn't even get water to come out from under my feet." So I said, "I think we're going to be really, really good." And we did. We rained the whole game. I think we got 7 or 8 inches that day. We got beat 31-3, I think. And the next day, I got a phone call. I didn't know the number. I didn't answer it. Called me right back, so I answered it, and it was Coach Fedora. And after getting beat that bad, he called to tell me how he thanked us, the crew, for the work we had put in on the field. He just wanted to let us know that it played great and that had no effect on the game. And he was just very complimentary of everything we'd done. And that meant a lot. So going forward from that, I learned a lot. I learned, like, if you build the field right and if you maintain it like we were maintaining it, you can take hurricane rains. You can take weather that, 15 years ago, I don't think we could have taken. So it's pretty impressive what technology and just maintaining stuff the right way will do.
It was really impressive. And I just remember that. So that video, it's just like, holy crap. That's very impressive, because at Tech, I think we had, that might've been after graduation, but we went back. I worked the game, so I'm going down to the UNC game this weekend, actually.
Okay. Yeah.
We'll be terrible. No offense, Hokie fans. I love Virginia Tech, but I don't think anybody knows whether or not we're going to be good or not, because they've kept everything.
I did tell somebody the other day, I said, listen, first game in 2 years where you're having a full crowd, a night game in Blacksburg, that's going to be fun. Like, it's going to be rowdy.
Yep. Blacksburg's like no other place when it comes to the start of the game. That Enter Sandman is something else. And my favorite part is I don't actually jump because I'm down on the field. I'm like, am I supposed to be professional? Am I supposed to be jumping? But I can feel the whole thing shaking, like on the field. I'm like, this is my home right here. That's right. But again, with all of that, it's sort of weird to, again, put those things together. But that game we had, it was like, it turned into like a slosh pit. The players were like sliding all over the place and everything. And we had our sub area, and I was like, yeah, this feels a little bit old for the drainage purposes. So, but again, like stuff like that. And I remember you were talking about 10, 15 years ago. I think it was Virginia Tech versus Georgia Tech, maybe, or something. It was Michael Vick era. And they canceled like a national, like it was like 1 versus 5, and they had to cancel the game. And it was like, never again is this ever allowed in Blacksburg, because it cost the school millions. So it's very true what you're saying about how the technology and everything has come so far in such a short period of time. Sort of shifting things, there's been a lot of talk in the industry about how things are changing, what we need to look forward to, what we need to be working on. Sort of in your eyes, how have you seen the sports turf industry shift in the last 10 years, other than what we were just talking about, and what do you think the future holds for sports turf?
I think there's a lot of questions. I think we're headed in a good direction. There's definitely, I think you're seeing more synthetic fields put in, and not just every level. I know there's some, obviously our local NFL team has just switched over, and, I think you're seeing school boards and counties doing things like that. I think every situation is different and needs to be assessed individually. There may be some schools that need that, but I don't want to see the trend go in that direction like any other sports turf manager. I think what you're doing with the students, the younger generation, and getting them. I wish, looking back, I would have had some classes in high school, to steer me towards this, because I love lining our baseball field. I love dragging it. I love doing things like that. And I never had a clue that that was an option. It's something I could do when I got older. So, I think what you guys are doing, and I think I'm seeing it more on Twitter, so-and-so's turf class or turf program in high school. I think that's really awesome to get kids interested. And then the ongoing discussion that's out there is just the wages that people are making in jobs. I mean, there's a lot of hours that people are working, and I think people are getting burnt out. So I think as an industry, we got to figure out, how to get the pay scale higher, to compensate people for their time and their expertise, and then figure out how somebody doesn't, nobody needs to work 2,000 overtime hours a year or anything like that. That's the easy way to get people burned out and out of the industry pretty quick. So, those are the challenges, and I don't have the answers for them, but there's some very smart people in our industry, and I think we can figure it out.
Absolutely. Especially the last one, I think, and I keep bringing it back up, but like with everything that you guys do, and especially now that college athletes are making money, it's that sort of next step to when they make their professional money. Again, I go back to Travis Hogan because, again, what's his name makes the most money in the league. Patrick Mahomes makes $500 million. That's a big investment. And if Travis is not doing his job, or if he's not there, then the likely chance that $500 million, sorry to make that small, Patrick, my bad. But if he's not there as the first line of defense and things go wrong, then your $500 million could be just thrown out the window, and especially with him, he's got such bad turf toe or whatever it is that he has. It's always dealing with his feet.
Yep.
And again, with Dr. McNitt, I haven't forced it out of him or anything or talked to him about it too much, but all these synthetic fields going in the pros, I feel like in the next 3 or 4 years, the Players Association is going to get switched back. And it's like, my thing again, like you said, there are places where artificial is like needed, and don't get me wrong, I completely agree with you. Even at a high school level, it's really hard to justify it, other than the fact that athletic directors and people don't want to do work.
Yeah. And our synthetic companies are very good at marketing, to the public, or the parks and recs and the high schools and things. So they're very good at that.
And what's crazy to me is, even with that, they still have to go over like the specs. They still have to talk about how there's crushed concrete, and then if you want to spend an extra $300,000, you can get a little cushion that's an inch.
Yeah.
And then it's just the plastic sheet with the fibers attached and sand and rubber. So if you only spend the less than 300,000 for the extra, you have literally less than an inch between concrete and your player. Like, in what world would you want your son or daughter to fall on that, And again, my other issue that I have is they're saying, oh, it lasts 8 years. And then people who are buying them can't actually afford them, in the sense of like, okay, well, in 10 years, I don't have $1.5 million to replace this thing. Like, I'm just going to let it run as long as I can,
I think one of the biggest things that gets missed is the temperature on them in this time of year, and how hot they are.
Yeah, that forgot about that too. Sorry, there's too many things to be talked about. I was talking to one of my kids. He was complaining about how he was like on the asphalt yesterday or something, working on his car. I was like, it's a good thing it wasn't on an artificial turf field. He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, I'm like, it's hotter on an artificial turf field than it is on asphalt, which again should shock people, but nobody listens to anything we say, right? All right, I'll stop. I'm sorry. We won't go there. Sorry, let me find something else to talk about real quick. If there was something that you could know, sort of like, again, maybe not make it easier, but just sort of understand heading into this industry, what would that one thing be and why?
Ooh. One of the best pieces of advice I got when I had just got into the industry was from Ray Brinsfield. He asked me one day if I was keeping basically a journal of what we were doing, the fertilizers, the fun, anything we did. He's like, "Are you writing that down?" And I said, "No." And he said, you need to be writing it down. So I did. I started that week, and I didn't know what I was writing down. I was writing down, we just put out a 17-0-17, and I'm not even 100% sure I knew exactly, what 50% slow release was at the time, but I wrote it down. And I used that when I moved on. I would refer back to that, and that really helped me a lot, just to be able to do that. One of the other things I would tell somebody young is, and I probably could have done a better job of this myself, but there's a lot of people that have been in the industry longer than us that know so much that we can gain from them. Whether it's they've been doing it for 40 years or they've just had some really cool experiences and can share information. So I would definitely tell young people just to reach out and talk to people, pick people's brains, get ideas, things like that. I think that's so beneficial. And I think our industry does a really good job of sharing information, especially on Twitter. I can't tell you how many ideas I've probably stole from people. Well, that's a great idea, to drag a core in or do this or that. And I hope people see what we're doing and think, oh, that's a good idea. I'll do it, so.
I still credit you for our Stars and Stripes themed win. I was like, you guys executed that perfectly. We were just like, hey, this looks really awesome. Let's just make it a little bit smaller and a little bit longer. It was just, I said it. I said, oh, it was stolen. I didn't.
Hey, those were some really fun years. We got a little crazy painting Keenan and painting the end zones for every, whiteout, blackout. I mean, whatever game we had.
Absolutely.
But, that was really fun. And I think you see a lot of that throughout the industry now, and it's cool.
Again, you guys were an inspiration to us for those years that you had it. It was something new and fresh every year, and it was just fun to watch, and we try to do that. We have our Stars and Stripes game. We're doing a 9/11 remembrance game because it's September 10th. So it's the day before the 11th, for the 20th anniversary. And we were like, I went to our art teacher actually, because I was like, I don't know what else to do. We've done a waving flag. We've had a regular flag run across. We did your design. I'm like, what other things are Stars and Stripes? So we came up with this fighter jet thing where it's not an actual fighter jet, but on the side, there's like a big circle with the star in it. And then you have the lines sort of branch off of that. So we're just going to have a big star in the middle of our letter. I think it's S in Brentsville, and then have those lines go across, and we'll see how it turns out.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, if it doesn't turn out well, then sorry, we tried.
Hey, one year we went down off campus to a field, and we took a couple of our letters and we painted them, and then we were going to try something for. I want to say it was the military appreciation game. We were going to try to do camo in our colors, so like a dark blue, a Carolina blue, a white. We mixed some colors. We did this, and we painted these letters, and it looked like Blue's Clues. I mean, it was a cartoonish.
I think you should have gone with it. I think it would have been fun.
Remember, I think my boss was there at the time, and he was like, "There's no chance we're even going to send that to somebody." And I was like, "Yeah, that looks terrible." And we took the paint machines and covered it up. Nobody ever saw that. But
it's a good thing you covered it up, right?
It doesn't always work, but oh well.
So we tried it too, but we didn't use our colors. It would have been, again, you were saying Blue's Clues. We would have been like Tony the Tiger from Frosted Flakes, But we did a camo. I don't know if you can see it. Let's see if it's focused.
Oh yeah, and I remember seeing that. That's awesome.
It turned out pretty good. It was pretty funny because everybody's like, they call me Miller. They never call me Mister. I'm used to it. Like, Miller, we don't know if this looks good. I'm like, just trust the process, okay? I've seen it done before. Just make a big blob, okay? And we'll go from there. So it's just, and I think that's what's so cool about with football and everything. There are so many different things that you can try, whether that's mowing patterns or painting or whatever, that people take for granted, And I feel like in our program, it's a way of sort of catching the eye of those young kids that do want to do this in the future. I had a girl, she was up in Pittsburgh this summer. looking to go south this summer, next summer, coming up for an internship. And she's at Tech now. So like stuff like that they have memories like that we can sort of connect them to the sports turf industry has been huge. So yeah. Any other Blue's Clues designs you come up with?
No, we've scaled it back a little bit. So.
Okay. Sorry, what was your question?
How many turf students do you have or
in the program? So we had 220 last year and we're down to like 200 this year because of COVID and other things, whether it's people wanted to stay virtual to stay safe with COVID and whatnot. But we started at like 75 when I first got here at a more of an agriculture horticulture program. And when I came in, they hired me to do a more focused on the industry jobs available in Northern Virginia. So sports turf, golf course, landscaping. But yeah, we have over 200 students in our program.
That's incredible. That's really awesome.
We're trying, we're trying. And I think I had last year, not this past class, but the one that when COVID hit, there was probably 15 kids in 5 different schools that went for turf programs. So again, it's fun to be able to watch, and it's been great to see the kids really enjoy what they're doing. I've got kids who were in California on golf courses this past summer to Florida, and then again Steelers, another one working close to home on a baseball facility. But again, it's been, and people ask me why I do it. It's just great to see kids take that much interest in and sort of run with it, and hopefully we're just getting started, but we don't know. So,
we'll keep it up.
I'll try. We'll see. We're just trying to deal with what's going on now with COVID and seeing what's going to happen and uncertainty with that, but we can only hope for the best, Let me find the question that I had that I've now lost. Sorry. Sort of, again, you were talking about, you've been there this is your 12th year. How have you seen your sort of job change over the years, and what do you see in the future come with that?
So I think, when I got here 10 years or in 2010, so 11 years ago, I was hands-on with everything. We had a really good group of guys, but they weren't necessarily turf guys. They had, older guys that had been there for 20 years, 25, 30 years. So I found myself just doing a lot of everything. And now we've shifted into hiring, some people with turf backgrounds, turf degrees, and I think I can push off some of that responsibility, decision making, and things like that. So with that said, I find myself, I'm in meetings more. I'm not on the fields as much. I think I have a great balance. I talk to people all the time who are like, man, I never get to get on a mower anymore, or whatever. But I have a good balance. There may be days where I have a couple meetings, or there may be a day where I get to help the guys mow or do whatever, spray, which I really, really love. I think the more I stay in it, I'm a secondary administrator for our baseball teams. Yeah, I've taken, the longer I've been there, I think I've taken on more, administrative roles, more responsibilities in that aspect, which has been fun. It's been fun to just do, progress and do some things a little different than turf. But I still get to have my hands on, all the time and things like that. My boss is assistant athletic director for facilities planning and construction. So, I don't know if that's an option for me in the future. It very well could be, so I don't know. I really love what I'm doing. I love maintaining sports turf and getting to be part of the process. So, if I am in this role for the next 15 years, and that's not a bad thing at all either. So
absolutely. Do you know Casey Underwood?
I do. Yeah.
So Casey's the exact same way, except he keeps moving more and more towards the administrative part, which he hates because he's a way more of a hands-on guy than anyone I've ever met in my life. And it's funny because now it's gotten to the point where like he'll get phone calls like, "Hey, come in, we need you," or something like that, and he has to leave people hanging. And one of them is like a good friend of mine. He's like, "Dude, he did it again. He left me to do this job," and I'm like, "Oh yeah." But yeah, he's one of those guys just like you that wants to stay out there and still enjoy his work, which is awesome.
There, there was a day this last week where I knew I had a couple meetings, and I went to work wearing khakis and a polo, and then I knew we were going to do some work, like some work on the fields and get really dirty. So I changed, and I think I even changed back to go to another meeting. So it's kind of where I'm at in my career right now, where it's a little bit of both.
Bouncing in and out of the locker room, I got to put the polo on, polo off, we're good to go.
Yeah.
All right. Am I in the right clothes for the meeting that I'm going to right now? Yeah, it's crazy to me. I'm actually getting my doctorate in educational leadership right now, which is administrative stuff. But it's crazy to me what goes into being an administrator. Just the decision making that you have on you, again, sort of the weight of that when it comes to, like, again, in my case it would be a school, but again with a athletic facility or athletic group, I should say. I'm not even department. That's the word. Sorry. Can't think straight. With the caliber of UNC, that's huge, So we always ask this as our last question. And again, I can't thank you enough for taking the time. This has been absolutely incredible. With our kids, again, you were talking about, we have high schoolers who are getting to see the industry for the first time, being able to be a part of something great. We're actually bringing kids down to Savannah this year, so hopefully we'll be able to see you down there. That'd be awesome. What would be your best words of advice for someone who's interested in being a sports turf manager in the future?
I think I would have to say get out and get some hands-on experiences, in different places. You go do one up north where it's a cool season grass, do one down south. And I know not everybody has this opportunity, or you can do this, but if you can, go down south and work with Bermuda grass. Try a golf course, try a landscaping company, try volunteer or not volunteer, do an internship or volunteer with college athletics or anything in the sports turf industry. I think it's important to figure out what you like as well as what you don't like. You may do something for a summer and realize, like, this is just that's not what I want to do. So I may not want to do landscaping, so I'm going to do golf, or I may not want to do golf. I'll do sports turf. And the only way to figure that out is just to get some experience. And then just going back again and just talking to people in the industry already, picking their brains. You can never do enough of that. So, as a young person, I think that's would be a really good thing to do, is just get some experience wherever you can.
Sorry, I was muted. I said, couldn't agree with you more. I remember when I got a call from Chris Ecton, I was like, I'm a baseball guy. Why would I want to go work for him in the NFL and have that? I was like, well, it's something else that I can see. And I ended up loving it. Football is probably one of the my favorite things to do in sports turf, so it was definitely worth taking that experience and being able to have that. Well, like I said, I can't thank you enough for taking the time. This has been awesome. Again, you're such a incredible industry professional, one of the leaders in our industry when it comes to college athletics and everything that you do. And again, I can't thank you enough because of your work. Again, you're an inspiration to my kids. Like I said, again, we stole it, people know it. We stole the design. With everything, again, I cannot thank you enough for everything. So.
Man, I really do appreciate you having me on. It was fun chatting with you. So send some of your kids down our way sometime. We'll take them. Put them to work.
Absolutely. I'm sure they'd love that.